Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Ashley Brianna Eve, and I promised that we would circle back to what I call the Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively Trojan Horse Playbook. I promised, and here we are. And the beauty of this is over the last couple of weeks, I've been diving into some interesting threads within this playbook. And guys, I actually think it started well before Deadpool. So that's what we're going to be diving into today. This is going to be a 3-part series. So this is part 1. And I just want to start laying the groundwork today. And I know we've spoken about it a little bit in the past, but I've put it out a little bit more. We can actually see it play out. And then if you guys know where this picture is from, let me know if you guys know. Blade Trinity. It's going to set the stage to give us a new perspective on what went down with Blade Trinity. Do you guys remember? Let me know in the comments. Are you old enough to remember? Are you old enough to remember what went down with Blade Trinity? There was like this massive, just to set the stage, this massive issue with Ryan and Wesley Snipes. And Wesley got like pretty dragged in the media as being difficult, as being problematic on set. And Ryan was kind of set up as the hero, as the funny guy. So I don't know. It's going to be some interesting threads, but let's start diving into this, guys. I'm really excited about this. All right. I'm not Candace Owens, so I don't have really fancy technology. I just made some slides for us. One day I might be super fancy. That is not today. That's okay. We'll survive being a little bit basic. Okay. So I've narrowed it down to 4 steps that Ryan and Blake go through in their Trojan Horse playbook. It's my belief that, well, they've both been problematic. We're going to see that, right? We see that in old interviews that are surfacing now in regards to Blake Lively. We're seeing it in her own words where she's like, yeah, I poisoned everyone against Penn Badgley. Like, of course I did. I didn't like him. We're seeing that. But I think we can admit when we look at who potentially the brains of the operation is here, it's Ryan. And I believe, based on seeing this, that it is his playbook. And she's also been problematic, but he's helped her also nail it for It Ends With Us. Please do a live with some people who have read the book and saw Blake complaining about things that occurred because they were in the book. No one else has done this. We could definitely do that one day. Hello, welcome. All right, so what it seems to be happening, particularly with Deadpool and It Ends With Us, we can see that more prominently with those, is they come in with like very humble, right? As a star, as the name, and they come in humble. They're taking clearly a pay cut. And it's a movie franchise that has a lot of potential. Deadpool did, It Ends With Us. I mean, when we look at some of the series in terms of books that have got really popular, I mean, it was a lot of potential for her to get the rights to It Starts With Us and to really be on Colleen's good side because Colleen has so many books, right? Like there's so much for that franchise that could be possible. So what I've looked at is just this like, well, Blake has said it in her own words, right? She said, I come in, I don't really want to be an actress. I don't want to just stand on the pink dot and be pretty and say my lines. Like I want authority or authorship. That's the word she used. I want authorship. So they both kind of come in with this humble attitude. And it's that Trojan horse, right? Once they're in, they slowly take over. So step 2 is you start to push the original lead out and put your people in their place. So even if you can't get rid of the original, so Justin Baldoni wasn't necessarily gotten rid of, but he lost all control on the set. And we can see that also with Ryan in Deadpool. Then you isolate people you couldn't get rid of. We see this with Marina in Deadpool. I hope I'm pronouncing her name properly. We could see, and I have some interviews that I found with her as well, where she was very frustrated on how her time continued to get cut and how she was essentially isolated. So she was isolated on the Deadpool set. And then, of course, I think everyone knows that Justin was isolated from the whole cast. I mean, it was the exact same thing. You look at Deadpool and it's everyone, Marina separately, and you look at It Ends With Us and it's everyone and then Justin separately. So it's a very predictable playbook that you can start to track with the two of them. And again, like I said, if you go back, it certainly wasn't mastered yet, but man, it starts to get really eerie when you look at Blade Trinity and you start to see some of these patterns and you're like, okay, it can't be a coincidence. Maybe it is, but I really feel it can't be a coincidence. So you isolate people. And then 4, you monetize the now very profitable franchise. Now, Blake talked about this as well, right? She said, it was a small budget. And in the one interview, it was kind of like an undercover interview. She's bragging about how she's calling in all these favors and she's calling all her famous friends. I mean, in her amended lawsuit, she was saying how Justin had, no problem leveraging her famous friends and leveraging her power to get what he wanted, which it seems so detached from reality, especially when you see and and you've read his lawsuits and you see the timeline. That's not what happened. But now you monetize this profitable franchise. Now Ryan did that with Deadpool, and Blake did, she attempted to do that with It Ends With Us. So when we look as well, Ryan personally paid, and he talks about this in interviews, that he basically, his money he got for Deadpool, the first one, he put back into it. And he paid for his writers, so Reese and Wernick, to be on set. And again, it's like this humble beginning. Like, I'm coming into this low budget film, even though I'm a bigger actor. And, what they don't realize is you're going to start taking over creative control. And then Blake as well was kind of hired, you could argue, potentially underpaid for her role with the executive producer credit, which was, I don't know if it was Justin, but in his lawsuit, they had basically said, yeah, you get a name like her, you get the executive producer credit. And it's kind of just like, because she's the big name. So we give her that credit. And she gets in, then works her way up. So when we're looking at how this breaks down with step 1, the humble beginnings. Hello, great topic. I promised you guys I would come back to this. I stay true to my word. It might take me a while because I'm just so busy, but I stay true to my word. Hello. Hi, guys. So nice to see you guys. All right. So let's have a look at this. Step 1, humble beginnings. So again, we talked about this, but you take well below your money. You help. Like, I'm going to help. I know people. I know the right people. So Ryan Reynolds' base salary for the first Deadpool movie was reportedly $2 million. He says that he is so passionate about it. So he gave up much of his salary to be a part of it, to ensure the movie was made and to ensure his writers were on set. He claims paid the writers. He essentially put that $2 million back into the movie. Now, the interesting thing with this is he ended up making something like $22 million from the movie. I can't find anything for Blake Lively, and it's not to say it's not true. It very well could be true, but I can't find anything for Blake Lively that says, she would get a percentage of the overall money that the movie got. I can't find anything like that. Reynolds obviously had that as part of his contract, but he comes in $2 million for a name like him attached to a project. He brings his writers in. And again, is it like humble, like I'm going to help out? Or is it that first step of creative control? Blake, again, she reportedly made $3 million. I'm actually surprised she made that much, but she made $3 million. It's reported for It Ends With Us. And again, any profit sharing potential was not made public. She very well could have. I don't know. It's not made public. Justin Baldoni as Ryle, he earned about $320,000. Brandon, about $300,000. Jenny, $250,000. Isabella, she earned $85,000. So Blake took in a significant amount more than even Justin Baldoni, which also, it makes sense. She was a big name. So that makes sense. But again, the point with that, and what was interesting when you start to track their habits, especially for these franchises, is it is below what they would make. So it doesn't really make sense, even from a business perspective, for her to have taken it on with the idea of just one movie at that amount of money. Like, from a businesswoman mind would be looking at what's the long-term potential here, not just the $3 million. Even if there wasn't profit sharing potential, I have no doubt that as a businesswoman and married to Ryan Reynolds, in the back of her mind, she was thinking, like, what's the long-term potential? Well, there's a sequel. She has other books. There's a lot of potential there. Hello from Armenia. Oh my goodness. Welcome. I'm so glad you enjoy the channel. It's so nice to see you guys. So many familiar faces. Now, here's the interesting thing. So both of them start to replace staff. So remember, it's humble beginnings. And it's just so interesting to me that so much of now Blake has come out and she was talking about calling in all those favors and then pretended that Justin was exploiting her for that. But this isn't a first for the two of them. So Blake and Ryan, who knows at this point? Blake originally claimed that she wrote the rooftop scene. And then she said Ryan did at the premiere. And then she backtracked. And in her amended complaint, there's this like mysterious letter that she wrote to Christy Hall, who wrote that scene originally. And she was like, no, I wrote it. It wasn't Ryan. I'm sorry you got tied up into this. Like, I just know the public loves a love story, like a real love story. So that's why I said it was Ryan. So bizarre. But anyway, that's in the amended complaint. So one of them or both of them, Blake and Ryan, rewrote that rooftop scene. I would say if you've seen It Ends With Us and you've seen the rooftop scene, it screams Ryan Reynolds. It screams Ryan Reynolds. So I believe her. You know, when people tell you who they are, believe them. I believe her. That was Ryan. Blake fired the first and second AD, who were women on set. And, you know, it kind of came out that just if she doesn't like people, she gets them fired. She also fired the original composer because Taylor didn't like him apparently, or had him or her. I can't remember if it was a him or her, had problems with this person. So already we're seeing like, it's just, you start to replace the people and put your people in. And we saw that with Ryan as well. He brought his writers in, right? Very humble, but I'll pay for them myself. Now, we all know this, and I'm just setting the stage, guys. We're setting the stage because wait till you see part 2 of this. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Wait till you see part 2 of this when we really get into the Wesley Snipes. And you guys have to let me know. Do you guys remember the fire Wesley Snipes came under back in the day with Blade Trinity? Of course, Ryan Reynolds rewrote the scene and she admitted it herself in an interview. Then she changed her mind, wants to claim credit. It's wild. I agree. It's just Ryan's sense of humor. So Blake has a history with causing issues on set. But again, I don't think she's the brains of this operation. I think Ryan's the one that's really figured this out. And then I do think they're a team. I know a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers, a lot of creators are saying, you know, I think he got jealous and then he took over this. I don't think so, especially when you look at her problems on set. So Blake confessed she poisoned the whole cast against her co-star. That was Penn Badgley. So back when she was on Gossip Girl. And she said, at first I was so upset that they hired him. She told Glamour magazine, I actually poisoned the whole cast against him. But then they noticed that he wasn't a jerk and was actually a really nice, charming person. And she added, almost immediately, I realized that too, but it took me about a week to admit it. So she obviously also has issues with admitting that she's wrong. But the thing guys, the thing for me, do you think he knew that she did that? Because they dated later. That is wild. If he did know and he still dated her, that's so wild. Oh, you guys are going to be shocked when we get to part 2. Wait. He is a legend. No, I wasn't into the Blade movies. Still not. Are they good? I like them, but I like those types of movies. He is a legend, and wouldn't you know it? He was apparently very problematic on staff with Ryan. Seems like Ryan and Blake, wherever they go, they cause problems. But it's everyone else. But every movie they're on, there's some kind of issue. Huh, funny. So she admitted this, that she was poisoning people against Penn Badgley. She had said she was sexually harassed by a makeup artist at one point in time where he was putting lipstick on with a finger. There's a lot of allegations that she didn't get along with Anna Kendrick. Now, it's interesting because there's sources. If you dig enough, it's harder to find these. But if you dig enough, there's sources connected to the studio that claim that the studio even had a talk with them about making it look like they liked each other on press tours because it was starting to get obvious. Blake and Anna did not comment on the rumors for that. But apparently, if you dig enough, there is sources, which we know are typical, magazines, online publications, they vet their sources. You and me can't call in. We can't give a tip to TMZ and be like, hey, guess what? Blake and Anna, they hate each other. Oh my God. They are like at each other's throats. Like, can you run a story about that? It doesn't work like that, right? And if you watch the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial, I can't think of his name now. But the guy, oh my gosh, the guy that worked for TMZ, he talked about how everything's vetted. And depending on who brings through the information, like if it's actually the person or their PR team, it's like they get the information, they run with it. But if they have to vet the sources, it takes longer. These publications aren't just like some rando on the internet calling and saying there's an issue there. I almost missed the live. I know. I was just like, today's been so crazy busy, guys. It was just last minute where I thought, we got to do this. We got to do this. Next time, could you make it more bold, the live, please? I'm so late. I almost missed this. I'm so sorry, Leo. It was last minute. And I apologize, guys. I usually like going live in the morning. You guys know that. It's usually 10 a.m. Eastern. But today's been back to back with client calls. So I was like fitting it whenever I could. So she has these multiple claims in the past for sexual harassment against people, these apparent issues with Anna Kendrick, poisoning people against Penn Badgley. There's so many issues that use Armie Hammer. There was issues there, calling her, without naming her, the biggest diva. He said, let me just say that was a tough show to film. And I didn't even end up actually filming all the episodes I was supposed to because it was so tough. He implied that someone wanted him out. And when guest Chelsea Handler guessed that person was Blake, Armie very unconvincingly said, no, that's not what I'm saying, and smiled. So they consistently have issues. I find Ryan on his side, it's harder to find other than the issues that he had with Miller on Deadpool. It's harder to find a lot of complaints. But again, when you're more powerful, PR can scrub things. Like I have clients that, I'm getting away from branding, but business clients that their PR teams scrub things. Like things don't make it out, right? So it is actually harder to find this kind of stuff on Ryan. However, thank you so much. Yes, like, share, and subscribe. It's free. Thank you, Shay. I appreciate that. Yes, please do. It's a baby channel, newer. So I appreciate all the support, guys. So it is harder to find this with Ryan. What you tend to find more with him, and I think it's because people are just genuinely afraid to speak out about him, is you tend to find people kind of say he's not funny, like Martha Stewart, where she said her neighbor Ryan Reynolds is very serious. He's not so funny in real life. No, he's not so funny. He's very serious. He's a good actor. He can act funny, but he isn't funny. You know, Martha's ahead of her time. Martha called that before all of this went down. I think Martha might be a little bit of a psychic or something. I think she saw this coming. TJ Miller very famously went on a podcast and basically called Ryan Reynolds an ass and said he was very difficult to work with, that he was horrifically mean, that he would be in the Deadpool character and just like rip into Miller, like, but as Deadpool. And TJ Miller was like, are you saying this to my character or are you saying this to me? Like, are you using Deadpool to attack me? So it was so like, he was very honest on his experience. Funny enough, TJ Miller later retracted, not necessarily retracted, but said, oh, it was just a misunderstanding. It was just, Ryan reached out and I was wrong. It's all me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Funny how everyone else again seems to be the problem. Welcome to the chat. It's so nice to see you. It's a great group here. Make yourself at home. See, everyone's already welcoming you. It's such a good group. So again, with Ryan, it's a lot harder. You find things like, or even actors he's worked with calling his character difficult to work with, right? You don't really see a lot of outward stuff. But with Blake, I think the problem with Blake, honestly, she told on herself constantly. That was the biggest problem with Blake. She couldn't keep her mouth shut. So when you look at Ryan, he wasn't out here really talking about all the problems he was causing. And I think ultimately a lot of people were afraid to say anything about him. But Blake's just out here being like, yeah, I'm super problematic and I poison people and I cause problems for people. And she's just wild. She just can't. I mean, it's good for Justin, I suppose, because she can't keep her mouth shut. But so when you look at, and this is something I've been looking at the last couple of weeks, is like, oh, I forgot to take that arrow out. That's okay. We'll deal with the arrow there. is kind of tracking what went down. And I'm setting the stage, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. It's going to blow your mind when we get to part 2. Part 2 is the juicy stuff. We're just setting the stage here. The Deadpool takeover. Again, remember, so they come in, humble beginnings, they start to take over. So I actually didn't realize this. Let me know if you guys realize this. I didn't realize it. Apparently, originally the director, Robert Rodriguez from Sin City, great movie, Desperado, great movie, was in talks to direct Deadpool. And at that time, apparently, from what I can find, 20th Century Fox was hesitant about making Deadpool, especially as an R-rated movie. So there's a lot of hesitation there, but Rodriguez had his own vision for Deadpool. I want It Ends With Us, Justin's version, and I want Deadpool, Rodriguez's version, because Sin City, but like Deadpool, that would be cool. But anyway, he had his own vision for Deadpool, but the talks stalled and it was never officially green light. Never happened. Then Ryan Reynolds kind of like comes in and starts to slowly get his fingers into the Deadpool project. In 2011, it seems director Tim Miller, he was like, apparently from what I can find, no true directing experience. But interestingly enough, didn't Blake Lively say that? There was an interview. Now I'm going to have to find the interview. She said that in an interview about whoever she brought in to It Ends With Us. And she was like, oh, there's no official directing experience. Who is she talking about? But anyway, he brought Tim Miller in, personally picked by Reynolds from what I can find, which again, if we're looking at how him and Blake pick their people, it's like slowly taking over control of the film. And I have no doubt that they're legit excited about these projects. I have no doubt about that. And they're business people. So to get in at ground zero on franchises like Deadpool and It Ends With Us, when it's low budget and you can kind of like probably more easily exert control, it's actually smart business. I mean, morally is questionable, I suppose, but I don't know. I very much question if you can get to billionaire status with only following your morals, but that's a different conversation. So this is interesting. Again, I'm following this timeline. I'm having a look because I just saw, it was, I think a week ago, I saw a video of Ryan Reynolds with Hugh Jackman. And it was for, I think Variety does those like lie detector tests, which confirmed this. So around 2014, there was test footage leaks online. And does that sound familiar, guys? Anyone remember? Who else leaked a movie? Hey, P. Anyone else remember who leaked a movie? Who stole the movie, leaked it when the studio said don't do it? Sounds oddly familiar, right? Sounds oddly familiar. So around 2014, test footage just leaks. So at that time, there was a lot of like speculation that Ryan had leaked it himself, but no one really said anything other than that. And there was this overwhelming positive reaction to it. So that kind of like it forced, and again, I wonder, is this what Blake learned? Because at this point, it forced Fox's hand to greenlight the movie and with Ryan's view and vision for it. Again, does it sound familiar to anyone? Our girl B, yeah. Exactly what she did. Exactly what she did. He also iced out the original creator of Deadpool. That's true. At the premiere. Yep. Good point. It's wild when you start to see this. And so this is exactly what Blake Lively did, because she brought it and she was, the studio told me no, Sony said not to do this, but like, whatever, I took it and we're going to watch the whole thing. They only agreed to take 20 minutes, but I brought it all. Same thing. And I think it had the same intention as Ryan Reynolds leaking it. Was like, look at the feedback it got. People loved it. Now you have to go with my version. You have to go with my vision. 2015, production is underway. Now he's in full creative control, and it ensured the movie followed his vision. That leak really was like the nail in the coffin for he got to take control. Now, this is the written, you can watch the video. I think it's on Variety, but if you type in a Google, Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, lie detector test, this is what they did. So Ryan Reynolds was hooked up to the machine. Hugh Jackman read from a list of prepared questions. And near the end of the session, the question came out around, did you leak Deadpool? So Ryan Reynolds says, being funny, great question. This is a great question. Pass. And Hugh Jackman goes, I just want to remind you that you're hooked up to a polygraph machine. And Ryan Reynolds says, I just want to remind you that this does not follow the letter of the fucking law. And if I wanted to break out of this room and destroy everything in my path, I will. I would say that what's the question? So at that point, the polygraph expert kind of, apparently, I didn't think these were real. Maybe they're not actually real, but he actually admitted to it. So they're kind of pushing him, right? And Hugh Jackman says, like, did you leak the footage? And Ryan Reynolds goes, oh, well, for fuck's sakes. I mean, I might have provided an assist. And then he pauses. And it's like, kind of like wink, wink, if you will. Like, I might have provided an assist. He says, I was Scottie Pippen. I was just there doing my job and someone else gets all the credit. So he had been long suspected it was either him at the time or there were some people going back and forth that it might have been Tim Miller or someone else. But a lot of people at the time were like, no, I think it's Ryan Reynolds. So he eventually confirmed it, but he just confirmed it recently. It was just him and Hugh Jackman recently. Now again, but wait. Blake has a problem with leaking things. I mean, she leaks a lot. Right? She doesn't stop talking, but she leaks something now. Yeah, she just dip with that hard drive. Yep, she did. It's so wild. So what we're looking at here with the Blake leak. So this was a video that came out with her and Colleen Hoover. And it shows that she says, literally, this is not a bit. It's literally not done, Lively said in the movie and the footage. To be honest, what really happened is we were like, we're going to show the movie. And the studio was like, no, you're going to show 20 minutes. We're like, no, we're going to show the movie. And they're like, it's not done. And I was like, they don't fucking care, which was met with cheers from the crowd. Lively added, I literally brought the movie on an airplane. I have a folder and a disc like a hard drive. The actress also took the time to highlight a pair of jeans that Colleen Hoover had complimented her on. So we're seeing that again, right? We're seeing she takes the movie to leak it. My assumption from looking at this was to get that green light. Because at this point, I still don't think, from what I can find in the timeline, now I might be wrong, but I can't find in the timeline that she had officially gotten the green light yet for her version. And so my thought is, Ryan's like, hey, B, I did this thing with Deadpool where I leaked it and people loved it. And then it forced their hand and they had no choice. So Ryan forced everyone's hand at Pressure Studios for a Deadpool movie. It seems like for his version, where he leaked the movie and then because of the positive feedback, there was kind of a forced hand, if you will. Like, see, this said it would be fine. Then, remember we talked about isolating people. So that's step 3. They come in with humble beginnings. They start to slowly take over and replace with their people. And then step 3 is they start to isolate people. Marina, is it Marina? I still cannot find anything on why she was iced out. Guys, there is nothing anywhere I can find on why she was a problem, why Ryan didn't like her. I don't know. Maybe Blake didn't like her because she is stunningly beautiful and talented. I don't know. I cannot find anything. However, she was noticeably absent. So this started to also come out. It became more prominent when people started on TikTok to connect the dots, right? People started to see the connection that Justin was left out of the It Ends With Us content, or like premiere and cast. There's the word I was looking for. And then people started to be like, interesting. Because that happened on Deadpool. So Baccarin, I pronounce things wrong. People just have to deal with it. If you can't deal with it, probably not the community for you because I'm going to continue to pronounce things wrong. We're just going to deal. Baccarin was noticeably absent from cast interviews and promotions and posed alone on the red carpet, fueling speculation about a rift with Reynolds. They cause their own problems, Ryan and Blake. Do you think people aren't going to notice that she is alone and there isn't one picture of her with anyone? That's a good point. Isolating people is a playbook of narcissists. That is a valid point. Very good point, because she's beautiful. She is stunningly beautiful and so talented. She was like, honestly, I watched the first Deadpool. The only thing I really liked about her, I thought she was so cool. I think she challenges some of Ryan's jokes in narrative. I want you, Mel, to put a pin on that, and I want everyone to remember that for part 2 when we talk about Wesley Snipes. Just gonna say. We probably won't get to part 2 till Monday. I'm sorry, guys. If I can go live this weekend, I'll go live this weekend, but we probably won't be able to do part 2 till Monday. But just everyone keep that in mind, that she probably challenged some of his jokes and his narrative, because you may just see that coming up again in the problems with Blade Trinity. Now everyone's going to go out and like watch Blade Trinity this weekend. It's a great movie. Well, the Blades before are. I'm not a big fan of Blade Trinity because Ryan took over. Spoiler alert. So, Baccarin expressed disappointment over her reduced role in Deadpool and Wolverine. Remember that as well, because we are going to see that again when we talk about Blade Trinity and Wesley Snipes. Guys, I am telling you, I don't think Ryan had it nailed down for Blade. If I had to use my spidey senses, I would say, now there was some speculation around this, but I can't find anything confirmed. I would say, and the speculation is that there was talk of kind of like a spinoff and Ryan's character getting the spinoff. Total speculation. All right. So what it appears is that Wesley Snipes' character was cut back and Ryan was pushed to the front. And if you watch the whole Blade series, Trinity is not good compared to the other ones. That might be your homework before we do part 2. Everyone's homework is to watch Blade, the Blade movies. I don't even know where you would find them or stream them these days, to be honest. So while Baccarin wasn't the only Deadpool star to have been sidelined in the film, fans have been feeling something was amiss since Deadpool 2, although it is understandable that spotlight was put on Merc with the mouth, I don't know, and Wolverine. The film's promotion red carpet seemed to suggest that there's more than what meets the eye. She also said some interesting things around how she didn't like to kiss him with his costume on. I think that was her trying to say things without saying things. That's my feeling. Ryan seems like a man-child. I agree. Ryan wanted to change the script to include Baldoni jokes, and she might not have liked that. She might not have liked where it was going. And you're going to see a lot of issues with Wesley Snipes. Same thing. You guys are picking up on the threads here. You guys wait till guys, it's going to be wild. We all need popcorn. She cheated on her husband with an actor on Gotham. Interesting. Maybe Blake was worried she would do the same with Ryan. Her role was reduced in Deadpool 2. Interesting. Maybe. Spidey senses. I love it. That's a good point. Never thought of that. So we have this happening over on Deadpool. It's a playbook, right? The people who knows? Ryan, Blake don't like. Blake has said multiple times that the two of them are involved in everything. She helps him with his work. He helps her with her work. Maybe Blake that's a good point. Maybe Blake had an issue with her and was like, I don't want you around her. So she got sidelined. Her work got cut back. And then they just like, same thing as Justin. I mean, she wasn't put in the basement, but same thing with Justin. And then Ryan and Blake, they're their own worst enemies because that's what fuels this online speculation. And then they call it a smear campaign. Well, they did for It Ends With Us. They call it a smear campaign. It's like, no, people just aren't stupid. People see what you're doing. People wonder why stars of movies you're in all of a sudden are ostracized from the industry. Why all of a sudden these people that never had issues before are so problematic and they're not in pictures with anyone. Clearly narcissist. That's what seems like. She was in like 10 minutes of Deadpool 2. Interesting. Yep, they rinse and repeat. I wonder if they even have true friends. Yeah, as Denise said, they might not have many friends when this is over. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying nice breakdown. I'm glad you guys enjoy it. Like, I literally just, the things I find interesting, I just create content on it. So it means a lot that you guys are also finding it interesting. I mean, I'd be here nerding out on my own, but it's just nice to have other people to talk about it with. So with this isolation, so again, we want to remember their steps. So their step one is like humble beginnings, start at the start of a franchise. I actually think that's what Ryan learned from Blade, because he came in at the back end, right? So he came in Blade Trinity. My opinion, speculation, my opinion is they learned you get in at the start. I mean, it's smart business moves. Get in at the start, take control from the beginning, right? And so they were able to do that with It Ends With Us and with Deadpool. Although Justin was like, come at me, bro, because we're going to take you down, which is, I think, the first time Blake and Ryan have ever had anyone dare stand up to them. The closest I can find to that is TJ Miller, who retracted really quick, saying it was just a big misunderstanding after he said it. Wonder why. So then the isolation, Blake makes Justin go to the basement. So then we got all the, everyone was starting to catch on, right? You're looking, you're going, what is going on here? Seems like there's two different promotions going on. There's Justin's, there's Blake's. And then not only that, but he's not in pictures with anyone. He's not doing interviews with anyone. What is going on? So Blake would like to think that that is where a smear campaign started from Justin, because we're all idiots. We're all idiots, and we can't think for ourselves, and we can't look at what's going on and be like, something isn't right here. No. According to Ryan and Blake. And maybe it's because they got away with it with Deadpool and there were some rumblings, but it didn't hit a fever pitch online. So for Justin, he said, surrounded by close friends, family, soda bottles, a lot of love. The irony of being held in a basement on what was arguably one of the most important nights of Baldoni's career thus far was not lost on anyone. And that was in his lawsuit. All right, guys, I'm going to set the stage. We're just going, well, no, not Wesley Snipes. Honestly, guys, everyone here is going to have homework this weekend. I'm going to rewatch them myself. We all need to watch Blake Lively more like Blake Deadly. Seriously. That's our homework. That's the community's homework this weekend. If you can stream it, watch all three and let me know if you feel a difference on Blade Trinity. I mean, we're going back. I think I worked at like a video store, maybe high school. I don't know when all these came out. They're older, but I mean, the original Blades are so good. Okay, so here we go, friends. This is where it gets good. What if it didn't start with Deadpool? When I look at the narrative online, everyone is talking about it started with Deadpool. And I want to put out there that I don't think it did. I think it was like finalized with Deadpool. But when you start to go back and you wait till you see all of this come together, when you start to look at the narrative around Blade and Wesley Snipes, it just sounds too familiar. It just sounds too convenient. I could visualize them all in a bucket trying to climb on top of each other. Seriously. Wesley had a rep for being difficult, but the saving grace for him, Blade, is that Blade was a huge hit for Marvel. Blade 3 had drama. And that's what we're getting into, though. But the interesting thing is a lot of the difficulty, if you actually dig, was around Ryan Reynolds. If you actually look at the problems with Wesley Snipes and where all this bad press started, not to say he's an angel, no one is. I think there's like a tax evasion thing. It's all tied to issues he had with Blade. But anyway, if we're looking at the difficulty on set where it hit a fever pitch, it was issues with him and Ryan Reynolds. Remember what Mel said? Issues with the type of humor and how things were going. He wasn't a fan of Ryan, it seemed. And we're going to dive in this really deep in part 2. But what's really interesting is he was a method actor, and he was very open that like, and wasn't Heath Ledger as well with the Joker, right? He was in the role the whole time. And I think that's what weighed on him so much. Same thing with Wesley. Like if you look at, and I'm going to break it all down. I have the timeline ready to go, guys. If you break it down, he would even like write notes to the cast and everything on set as like Blade. Like he was in Blade. He was Blade. That's who he is, right? And then the jokester Ryan's coming around, destroying the movie, destroying the tone. I'm telling you, watch all of them. You're going to notice the tone flip with Trinity, and it's not a good movie, in my opinion. He had issues with Ryan, and Ryan, how he was on set. But interesting, because Ryan became the hero of the thing. He's the funny guy. He's fine. And Wesley went on to have big problems. Oh, really? It started with Blade. I don't know how old he was back then. Here's the thing. Powerless, I don't know. I don't buy that. This is going to get into conspiracy theories. One, you look at people that are powerful in Hollywood, and they're not really a coincidence. I don't believe it for a second. You'll never convince me that it's just like the most talented that get ahead. No one will convince me. I'm sorry. In music, in movies, and TV, you won't convince me. And I wonder who Wesley Snipes had problems with, who became the golden child, or Ryan Reynolds became the golden child of. Guys, this is a tangled web. Yeah, Trinity was worse. It was bad. I agree. I love Wesley and Tu Fong Fu. Oh, so good. He's so good. Guys, this is a tangled web. It might be a coincidence, this tangled web, but it's just an odd tangled web. All right. So what I propose is that it started further back. I'm not saying Ryan took over. I'm saying that he's very clever and he's a very smart businessman. He's very smart, Ryan. You guys will see in part 2 how it plays out. You guys make up your own mind. I'm not here to tell you guys how to think. Not here to tell you guys how to think. I'm going to put all the information out there. I think it's going to end up being a 3-part series. And I want you guys to make up your own mind. You don't have to agree with me. I want you guys to be independent thinkers. That is the whole point of life. So the thing I want to put out here first, because I can just see it, right? Like someone being like, well, you know, Blade wasn't Marvel back then. Blade is a Marvel property, as is Deadpool. However, during the time of Blade Trinity, from what I can find, the film rights were held by New Line Cinema. And I feel like that's correct because Wesley Snipes attempted to sue the shit out of them. So that was separate from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Deadpool, on the other hand, was produced under, from what I can find, 20th Century Fox before the studio's acquisition by Disney, which has since integrated the character into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So even though they weren't both under the Marvel umbrella back then, if you get your foot in, and a good foot in some of these Marvel-esque movies, these superhero movies, you're golden. You're golden. So Blade Trinity is 2004, Green Lantern 2011. So Ryan's beginnings before his flop. But see, and that's actually a good point. Because again, it's another superhero movie. You get your foot in the door with these. And, you know, you're going to have some flops, but you stick with it. And you get on the right side of the right people. Now, this is where things get interesting. I'm just setting the stage for part 2. Does everyone know who that Ari Emanuel is? Do we remember his name coming up with Blake Lively? That's a good point. Superhero movies were considered risks back then. And a smart business person. So what I always say to my business clients is you want to be ahead of the market. You want to be successful in business. You need to be ahead of the market. You need to be knowing where the market is going. And so even if in the short term it's a risk, because I work with a lot of businesses, large businesses, smaller businesses that are building brands online, some actors, some musicians. But I always say, If it feels like a risk now, but you see it being profitable long-term, you get your ass in the door now. Another person that's great at that, Taylor Swift. She is brilliant. She is someone that was seeding Easter eggs and like everything, going to fans' weddings and all of that. It was all, what does she say? Like, what if I was a mastermind or something like that? I'm not a Swiftie. But these people that get to that level understand business. And business says you be ahead of the curve. You see where the market's going. And that's how you become a billionaire. A lot of hard work, but ultimately you're seeing where the market's going and you're getting in when it is a bit risky. And then when it's profitable, you've already got your foot in the door. So Ari Emanuel, this is an interesting tie. This is an interesting tie-in. This might be a total coincidence, but it's just now with everything with Blake and Ryan, if something makes me go, huh? Now, he wasn't involved with Ryan at that time, but it's interesting for me because in 2004, and don't you worry, I have more content coming out about this guy. We're going to be doing a little bit of a deep dive into him because he's a character. So 2004, Blade Trinity, that's the timeline. Ryan is not represented by WME. There's no known direct Ari Emanuel involvement in Blade or in sidelining Snipes or promoting Ryan. Like, I can't find any direct connection. So I want to make sure that was really clear because I don't want someone to be like, Ryan wasn't even represented by him then. I know, but just stick with the story. Just stick with it. And again, you guys can make up your own minds. 2009 X-Men Origins, Wolverine. So this is a time where X-Men Origins was Ryan's first like foray into like Deadpool in the MCU. He was still represented by CAA back then. Then he left in 2013. He left CAA and joins WME. That's Ari Emanuel. He followed his longtime agent, Darren Stat, and apparently he's still with him, who left CAA and WME became his agent. So that's kind of the timeline for his involvement with Ryan. And I just want to make that clear because I don't want anyone to think that I'm insinuating that there was like some Ari and Ryan thing and they were in cahoots to get rid of Wesley Snipes. Shit, there might have been behind the scenes, who knows? But there's nothing outwardly doing that. So during Blade Trinity, Ari Emanuel was not representing Ryan's, so potentially any moves back then weren't connected. But it's just interesting because if you look at Snipes' timeline, he has issues with Ari Emanuel, who is arguably the most powerful person in Hollywood, right? Who also has problems. And he was also, I'm going to give you guys a little tidbit of what we're going to be talking about with him. He was also sued for SH. Birds of a feather. Birds of a feather. Ari seems like an ass. Yeah, that podcast interview clip was off-putting. It's so interesting. I have something coming out on him too. He speaks out on things when it's convenient for his pocketbook and his brand, but he's defended because I can't think off the top of my head. It's in my other slide for that, but I think he owns UFC or he's like involved in something with UFC. But with Dana White, he didn't speak out when Dana had hit his wife. It's just really interesting. Let's get into it with Wesley Snipes. So 2002, Ari Emanuel refused. So here's the thing. And this is why, like, even if Ari Emanuel wasn't directly representing Ryan or Wesley, who you know matters in Hollywood. And I want to know what the hell happened, and I can't find it yet, but I'm going to keep looking, with Wesley Snipes and Ari Emanuel, because in 2002, Ari Emanuel refused to send, I shit you not, sit down for this and be careful of your jaw falling off your face, refused to send a script to Wesley Snipes. It was on, I think, a Navy SEAL script, stating, everyone knows that blacks don't swim. pardon? What? So that came out in a sexual harassment lawsuit. Yeah. Is that not wild? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that came out in a lawsuit. That's getting a little bit off topic, but I do have something coming for you guys with that. And he got sued. He settled for an undisclosed amount of money. But that's who represents Ryan and Blake. Yep. He's racist. Yeah. Wild. Absolutely wild. I can't find, but here's the thing, guys, and this is why I just find it very interesting. Because even if Ryan Reynolds was like a newer guy, if him and this Ari were friends, who knows? Just because you're not representing someone doesn't mean that, you're not friendly with them or know who they are or something. I don't know. For some reason, well, obviously racist, but also above and beyond that, what did he have against Wesley Snipes? And I want to figure it out. And I'm going to try and figure it out. I'm going to try. I can't figure it out on the surface, but I'm going to keep digging. I want to figure out, because I think this is speculation. Total speculation. This is Ashley's imagination. I think it was a bigger plan on removing Wesley Snipes from the franchise. And I think, again, speculation, I think Ari Emanuel likely had something to say. And if you have an up-and-comer like Ryan, I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. We have more. Don't worry. We're not done with Ari. We're not done with him. I'm not shocked at the harassment. I'm shocked. Yeah. Yeah. Plantation Princess for Miss Khaleesi. What's the saying? Like the 5 people you hang around with, people you associate with. So is this who the celebrity, like Justin's better off not represented by WME. He's better off. This is not someone, Ari Emanuel, that you want to be involved with or you want to be represented by. I have no doubt he had no idea about this stuff. I can't imagine that he was aware of that stuff because it goes against everything he believes in. I said that earlier in the chat. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm like so into this story. I'm missing a lot of the chat, but I am just so into this and it gets so much wilder. So he refused to send a script. And the only reason that came out was because of the lawsuit against him, which Ari Emanuel did settle, undisclosed amount, although he still claims that it wasn't true. So that was 2 years prior, only 2 years prior. And then just happens in 2004. All of a sudden, Wesley Snipes is like, he's a bad guy. He's horrible. He's trying to strangle people on set. He won't even talk to us. He won't even make eye contact. He's a method actor. He won't get out of his character. So all of a sudden, he's super problematic on set. Just all of a sudden, 2 years later. I don't know. You guys let me know in the chat. Do you think it's a coincidence? Am I reaching? Have I had too much time on my hands when I was grieving my dog to just tie threads together that aren't there? It just seems too much of a coincidence. And when things seem like too much of a coincidence, I don't know. What do they say? If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. Hope Justin gets picked up by CAA. It will be such an FU to Ari and Ryan. Yep. I hope he does. He does not need to be anywhere near this guy. This guy is a POS. So all of a sudden, 2 years later, all of a sudden, Wesley's a bad guy. He's horrible. He's problematic. He's hurting poor Ryan Reynolds' feelings because he's a method actor. So Ryan's, probably crying to someone about how problematic he is. Does that sound familiar? that the main actor, the main person in the series, the main person that brought it all together is all of a sudden such a problem? They're definitely onto something. I'm glad I'm not the only one going, what? This seems too much of a coincidence. Is way too powerful for such a concentrated industry. I agree. Ari Emanuel is way too powerful for such a concentrated industry. So it's very hard for me to believe that 2 years before Wesley's painted as this horrendous guy, you're going to see in the part 2, he sued, the producers sued New Line Cinema. They owed him money. They didn't follow through on the contractual obligations because they cut his script. They put Jessica Biel and Ryan Reynolds, because yes, Jessica Biel's in it, to the forefront. He sued them. I don't think he won, although I'm still looking into the details of it for part 2. But he did sue them. He went after them. Very similar to what Justin's doing, right? Like, basically, you've destroyed everything for me. I'm standing up for myself. So Wesley did try to stand up for himself, but all you really heard is like how bad of a guy. And now, like, especially when we look back on PR and all of this, you look back on it now and it just reeks like It Ends With Us, and how things went down with It Ends With Us. It just has that stench all over it. Wesley's so talented. Yep. Guys, I'm telling you, the homework is to watch Blade. And then let me know when I'll confirm. Don't worry, guys. I will post it more in advance this time with part 2. But I want to hear everyone's opinions on if you felt the shift and how shit Trinity was. Thanks, Ryan. So 2005, 2006, he sues Blade Trinity producers, including New Line Cinema, for discrimination and claimed they intentionally cut down screen time in favor of Ryan Reynolds. Again, my hunch, I'm still looking into this. But again, there were rumblings at the time that Ryan Reynolds was supposed to do kind of a spinoff. How true that is, I'm still looking into it. But there were rumblings. Taking over a franchise? Sound familiar? Detective Ashley, I love this breakdown. Oh my goodness. We're just getting to the good stuff. He is so talented, Wesley. Yep. But you apparently cross Ryan and Ari Emanuel. Doesn't matter how talented you are. Ryan Reynolds ruined Blade. Yes. Yes, he ruined it. And that's what pissed Wesley Snipes off so much, which I don't blame him for being pissed. It was his movie. He was the star. Like, it's the same thing with Justin Baldoni. Like, hello. It's just wild when you start to see this. And I do wonder, I don't know. It's just too much of a coincidence. 2 years before, Ari Emanuel is refusing to send scripts to Wesley Snipes. And then all of a sudden, 2 years later, Ryan's being propped up as the guy. And there's all this horrendous press against Wesley Snipes. And he had a lot of allegations against the studio, including like tax issues. There was a lot that went down. So we're just going to set the stage for part 2, guys. Very excited about this. I wish I could keep going, but it makes more sense. Let's do it in bite size because you guys can then watch the movie. So Snipes throwing legal blade at Trinity team. So I'm going to set the stage with the lawsuit, and then we're backtracking as we do part 2. Because obviously the lawsuit is at the end. In a suit filed Monday in U.S. District Court in Los Angeles, Snipes alleges that in violation of his contract, the director, screenplay, and supporting cast of Blade Trinity were forced on him. Y'all, like, does this not? What? So everyone was forced on him. The director, the screenplay, and supporting cast. Justin Baldoni could have written that. Creator of Deadpool, Rob Life Flag quit Marvel. Wow. Ryan Reynolds may be fired from Deadpool. I hope so. I hope so. Justin owned the book rights to It Ends With Us. Only way to remove his rights was due to SH. Now Snake Lively and Ryan Reynolds claim SH so they can get the rights. It seems like such extortion. Ryan is a racist. Only racists get married on plantations. There is a creator on TikTok. I'll find her, and then when we do, I'll find her and I'll share on my Instagram. So I'm Ashley Brianna Eve on Instagram. I'll share her in my stories. So follow me over on Instagram, Ashley Brianna Eve. She talks about that too. The promotions of the plantation they got married on, it's not even like it was hidden. It's not even like you could pretend that it was just like I don't know. It's wild, but I'll share her in my stories. So make sure to follow me on Instagram because I can't think of off the top of my head what her link is. It's so interesting. You're welcome. I'm so glad you guys are enjoying it. So again, does this sound familiar? Deadpool, forcing staff, taking people out, moving things around, shading people on the red carpet. Justin Baldoni could have written this, but it happened in 2005. So he also claims he still owed a portion of his fee and that he was harassed and defamed because of his race. I wonder who had a problem with him and his race 2 years prior that it came out in a lawsuit that he wouldn't send Wesley Snipes a script, the Navy SEAL script. So New Line declined to comment. Goyer penned all 3 Blade scripts according to the complaint. However, Snipes had concerns about him directing the 3rd film in the trilogy and was not informed until 6 weeks before filming began that Goyer would direct. Similarly, he was not given, guys, remember I said this was going to come up. He was not given an opportunity to object to the juvenile level of humor in the screenplay and the change in focus from the Blade character to 2 sidekicks. Snipes claims the real purpose of Blade 3 was to set the stage for spin-offs featuring the other cast members. Good call, my friend. I'll see if I can find that original Snipes lawsuit. That's actually a good, thank you, Sophia. Good point. I will see if I can find the original one to include on part 2. I can add that in for sure. How are you guys feeling about this? Ryan probably changed it. Exactly. Who else has juvenile level of humor? Justin Baldoni's running to get Wesley Snipes cast in a movie with Scarlett Johansson. I would be so here for it. I would be so here for it. I don't understand what's wrong with his race either. Like, racist, you're never going to reason with them. He is such an iconic Blade. Him as Blade, yes. So iconic. Him in general, so iconic. It's just, but it, it's just interesting when you start putting the timeline like this, that he was harassed and defamed because of his race. And 2 years earlier, you have Ari Emanuel being like, I can't send him a script about Navy SEALs. I'm not even repeating why. Again, I said it once. I can't say it again. It like, honestly, it's like when I did the Jenny Slate live, it sickens me to even repeat what these people say. It sickens me. So I said it once. You can watch the replay if you missed it. I'm not repeating it. But Ari Emanuel refused to send Wesley Snipes a script about being a Navy SEAL because of his race. So whether Wesley knew about, I'm sure he did, because there was that lawsuit for Ari Emanuel for harassment, and this came out in the lawsuit. But yeah, so harassment on set, defamed because of his race, people taking over, like he had the cast forced on him, the director, violations of his contract, supporting cast forced on him. And he didn't have an opportunity to object to the juvenile level of humor. And he was right, because Blade Trinity is not a good movie. And he claimed, which I agree, And there were some rumblings other than just from him at that time. His voice wouldn't have been amplified at that time. So wait till you see everything that went down. It was all like Ryan. Wesley Snipes sucks. He's an asshole. He's dangerous. He's choking people on set. All of this crap. Just like the same weird shit. See, now I'm getting really worked up. The weird shit that Blake's coming up with about Justin Baldoni. Like all this weird stuff. And then you get video and she's like, oh no, like, no, that's not what I meant. Like, now that I see the audio in the dance scene, but I did call him a psychopath. Girl, you called him a psychopath because he looks in his wife's eyes. Blake, go take a note. Nobody wants this, fans. I've watched it 75 times. You look at that kiss scene, and I remember Kristen Bell. She had said the reason her and Adam work so well together is they can both stare dopily in each other's eyes with like almost that awkward silence, but it builds the tension for the audience. Blake could never. She could never. Who's watched Nobody Wants This? It is so good, guys. But that kiss scene, when they kiss for the first time, there's so much tension. They're just like staring dopily in each other's eyes. But that's what Blake was making fun of Justin Baldoni for doing with his wife. That's why you called him a psychopath, girl. Stop changing your story. We're sick of it. Oh, you're so amazing. You're welcome. It's like I need blood pressure medication. Can you guys see how like I get louder as we go? And I get like red as we go. If you watch me at the beginning to an hour in, because I get so worked up over this. Oh, I get so worked up. I thought you were doing this timeline from Blade. Most creators are not going back far enough. Exactly. To see how far back this goes. They're ruining lives with their lies. Kristen Bell's a professional. She is so lovely. I fell in love with her in the clip about her having a sloth at her birthday party. And I was like, can she just be my best friend? Because I love her. So anyway, that is setting the stage. So at the end of Blade, he filed lawsuit, and these are all the things he was claiming, which, I mean, seems legit. And it seems very similar to what Justin Baldoni had to go through with, and even in Deadpool. People being forced on him that he didn't agree to, harassment, defamed. Now, defamed because of his race, Wesley Snipes, but Justin is being defamed, and you could even argue going after him. Even Ari Emanuel had made that like disgusting comment about him that you could argue is racist as well. So, you know, and then the juvenile level of humor, I have no doubt that that was not flying with Justin. I have no doubt. So he also claims that Goyer made racially motivated statements about Snipes being unprofessional and difficult to work with, and that Goyer refused to discipline a crew member who wore a racially discriminatory t-shirt on the set. Oh yeah, lots of problems. So part 2 is going to be a deep dive into Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds, because, oh, we're just getting started. And they go after Justin's religion as well. Yes. Yep. So it's not far off. All right. I want to hear what you guys are thinking. We're going to end it there because that's an hour, 10 minutes, and we'll be here for 6 hours if we do it all in one go. But part 2, we're going to start laying out the timeline and how things went down. And I will thank you for making the suggestion. See if I can get my hands on the original lawsuit. And we're going to break it down. We're going to break down the timeline. We're going to break down everything I found out. And I also have part of this series breaking down some stuff about Ari Emanuel, because he is very problematic as well. And he's tied in because we saw that 2 years before there, all of a sudden, apparently Wesley was an issue on set. He was refusing to send scripts to him. Blake brought religion, into her amended lawsuit. She is wild. They are unhinged. They try to pull the Jewish or strong Hollywood card at Justin. Oh my gosh. They're so wild. What the fuck is wrong with these people? And this is the thing. This is what I was thinking of. And when I was pulling all these threads together, I go, am I just losing my mind? Like, what did I have way too much time on my hands as I was lying in bed and just healing, where I'm seeing things that aren't there. And then I started to see the Ari Emanuel piece and his issues with Wesley Snipes, and all of a sudden Ryan being propped up, and the exact same playbook, the exact same PR disaster and smear campaigns happen against Wesley Snipes that happened to Justin Baldoni. Wait till you see it all broken down, guys. It's wild. You're going to look at it and be like, this is literally what happened to Justin. Like, word for word, what happened to Justin. It's no surprise they are mean. Mm-hmm. I fell in love with Kristen Bell in Burlesque, where I thought she was Sophia Bush. Oh, I could see that. She's so sweet. I will like watch anything with her. She seems. And did you guys hear who's in Nobody Wants This season 2? Leighton Meester. Ah! And apparently she has her own show coming out too. She's just winning right now. She's just winning. Yeah, she's just winning. They're a level of mean I can't understand it either. I can't understand being that awful. No one's perfect. You guys know I say that all the time. No one's perfect. We all mess up. We all have a past. We all make mistakes. But this goes it goes way beyond that. Way beyond that. This is just pure evil. No one with any sort of conscience or you couldn't treat people like this. Poor Wesley. Yep. Leighton. Yeah, she's going to be in season 2 of Nobody Wants This. She's so good. She seems so real. I love her too. She seems so sweet. Well, I don't love her, but I'm a fan. That's totally legit. Some people choose to consistently make mistakes. Well, that's true too. Some people just never learn from them. All right, my friends, it was so much fun hanging out with you guys. I'm so glad that you guys are enjoying this deep dive as much as I'm enjoying creating it for you guys. Because like I said, I'd just be sitting there by myself, talking to myself, and maybe like putting this together for myself and sitting there. But you guys make this amazing, so I get to share it with you. So how long did Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively really know each other? When did they both get under Ari's radar? That's a good question. I haven't looked into Blake, to be honest. I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to figure out is, and we're going to, in one of the parts of the series of this, we're going to lay out Ari Emanuel and Ryan Reynolds, but that's a good question. I didn't look into Blake, and if she came on his radar because she was married to Ryan, that's actually a good question. And I don't know the answer to that, but I can look into it. Thank you, Crystal. Really enjoyed this live. Thank you for your research. I'm subscribing. Welcome to the community. It's such a good group here. Everyone's so chill. My dreams for Justin make it starts with us with Jennifer Lawrence. Oh, I would love that. Who should have been Lily from the start. That'd be so good. Thank you so much, Mel. You're so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate you. This was so great, detective vibes. You know, it's so funny. As a kid, I wanted to be a detective, and this is a funny story. But then I was like, I'd want to be like Jack the Ripper level detective, like that level, like notorious serial killer detective. And then I realized that you can't just walk in the door and do that. So I was like, forget it. But that is definitely, I was obsessed as a kid researching like these notorious killers and like researching them as an oddball. They met on Green Lantern. Ari's been over WME for ages. Yeah, he definitely has, but I'm just interested in my interest in what I'm trying to figure out is, did there start, Ryan wasn't represented by him at the time, but when all this backlash on Wesley started to happen and Ryan started being propped up, well, who was propping up Ryan? Someone was, because he was still relatively unknown. And I just struggle to believe that someone wasn't propping him up at that time. I just struggle to believe it. I love being here again today. Oh, I'm so glad. I agree. This group makes my day as well. I love this group. You guys are so good. Jack the Ripper was finally solved with DNA. What? Okay, I'm gonna have to look at that right after this. Oh my goodness. From Agatha Christie. Oh my God, so good. All right, my friends, you're welcome, Nina. Thank you for being here. Okay, guys, I'm going to let you go. I have chores to do on the farm now, so I'm going to let you guys go. keep your eye on the channel. Make sure to subscribe because part 2 is coming. There's going to be at least 3 parts to this. We'll see how deep this rabbit hole goes. Who knows? Maybe we're going to be doing more, but there's at least 3 parts to this. And next one, we're diving into the timeline between Wesley Snipes, Ari Emanuel, and Ryan Reynolds. So that's going to be just wait. Well, there you go. You guys can go over, see Daily Dose of Donna. All right, my friends. It was such an honor to be here. Thank you. I appreciate you so freaking much. I love you. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.